Hi, welcome back to our channel. We are Chase and Melia, and today we are reacting to CAIN.
Oh, yeah.
So excited. We jam them in the car all the time. We think
yeah.
that they are absolutely fabulous singers. And so if this is your first time on this channel, we are voice teachers. We're also worship leaders, and we are very active in what it takes to lead worship and lead worship well. And for us, we feel like we have a lot of experience on the vocal side of things. Accessing the Holy Spirit and leading people in worship is something we're still very much learning, but
absolutely,
how to sing well and how that serves worship leading is something that we're so passionate about.
100%.
And we are always trying to learn and do better, and we're hoping to break some stuff down so that you can learn and do a little bit better as well.
Yes.
So today we're doing Awe of You.
Yeah, this is a really recent recording. It's live, and it is only 2 weeks old, so I'm very excited.
Beautiful.
Let's get started.
Let's do it.
Who is this king who judges with mercy, runs to the hurting and rescues the lost, who looks at the sinner through a heart of forgiveness, with arms open wide on a cross? If what I've heard is true of you, then how could I stand in your presence? If what I've heard is true of you, and I stay in this moment forever. What can I give you that you can't make better? All of my ashes you've turned into gold. You are the giver, you are the treasure, a glory too great to hold. What I've heard is true of you, and how could I stand in your presence? What I've heard is true of you. Can I stay in this moment forever? If what I've heard is true of you, there's not enough words to describe you. If what I've heard is true of you, my Jesus, there's nobody like you, and I'm so in awe. I'm so in awe of you, Jesus. I'm so in awe. I'm so in awe of you.
I beat you to it.
We went too far.
I know. No, I already have so much I want to say. It's not too far. We're
No, I
third
mean,
through
like,
the video.
yeah, but I'm just saying, I have so much to say about that first section.
Do you want to go back, or do you want to just say it?
I think I have to go back.
Deal.
I'm so sorry, everybody.
Don't be sorry.
But so something that I'm hearing quickly is there's a technique for what are called onsets, and this is kind of how our voices work. They work like these two flaps of skin. You know, think about it like your lips, and you can close your lips and send air, and it goes right, and there's an initial pop there, or you can go where you kind of breathe out first, and then your lips close, and then and there's no pop. And I even do it in my speaking voice. Just then, I kind of stop
close it off,
and you close it off. And I talked to recently, I talked to a vocal speech pathologist, because when I was speaking, my voice was going out. My voice was getting very tired.
Yeah.
And that was one of the biggest things that she said to me was, I knew that it was that kind of onset tires me out when I was singing, but I didn't realize how much I was doing it in my regular speech. So just beautiful voice. I wish, I don't know their names.
Let's look it up. I think it's Logan. Taylor, Logan, and
Madison. Okay.
Yeah.
So
they all look great.
I think that Logan's voice is like objectively beautiful. But one of the things that we are kind of passionate about is, as singers, we try to mimic a lot of the things that we hear and a lot of our favorite artists. Growing up, I wanted to sing just like Michael Bublé, and so I tried to really match his sound, and that kind of always kind of hurt me in the long run.
Ultimately.
And so if you're gonna try to sound like Logan, good for you,
Yes.
because that would be a great, if you could sound anything like that, it would be amazing. But watch out for certain things like that, because not all of the things that we hear are things that they're doing all the time. And like, he could know this kind of stuff and he could also be super intentional with it. But when we try to mimic stuff, we're not as intentional because we don't know how they're approaching
their
things.
process is,
we don't know what the process is.
Absolutely. And a lot of our philosophy with singing, and this applies to worship leading as well, making a choice and being intentional when you're doing stuff is more important, right? Like, you can, if you have the foundations of how to use this instrument, this gift you've been given, this skill that you're developing, if you have all of that in place, you can then choose to use it in ways that might not be maybe sustainable, or but it's a different thing to do than if you're just doing it without knowing. I think that when you do stuff without knowing, that can create bad habits that can possibly like get in your way in the end. But I think that when you know what you're doing and you're choosing to do those things, that's intentional, right? That's intentional.
Yeah. And I talk about having a healthy baseline so that, 85% of the time you're singing with a really healthy technique, super healthy baseline. And then you can add all that stuff that makes it, a little bit more of the emotion or that feel that you're trying to communicate. And this is one thing I just love about their music, is they're so dynamic.
Oh, absolutely. And you can, I don't know if you guys have experienced this with other groups, but siblings singing together is a magical thing because you grow up together doing it so it's literally hours spent. It's also similar voices typically.
Your voices and like literally your bodies have similarities, right?
So it's like,
so much easier to blend. I have 3 sisters and we all sang together all the time, and it was something special. It still is something special.
Absolutely. And so I think what I noticed too, another thing that you can really take away from this group in general, is harmonies and the way they blend with one another. They're probably barely thinking about it at this point because they are siblings, but that's because they've had hours and hours and hours, years and years and years of practicing that together.
They have every one of them has absolutely gorgeous voices.
Absolutely. I also want to say too, for worship leaders out there and worship teams out there, if you're afraid of 3-part harmony in worship, don't be, because it's beautiful. It needs intention. Like, it has to be like thought out a little bit if you're not siblings. Because I feel like they
plan it out too.
But I feel like they do plan it out. But I just think it really does add so much. It's not. It doesn't feel choral, right? It doesn't feel stiff. It feels beautifully
it feels
like
organic.
and complementary to what they're doing. So.
And I stay in this moment forever.
Ooh, I don't know where they're from, but he has that. I'll stay in this moment forever. And it feels really forward.
We talk a lot about forward resonance because a lot of people, especially people who are native English speakers, and we are Americans, we naturally kind of swallow our sound. Stay in this moment forever. Especially because it sounds good to us. But if you've ever watched a recording of yourself singing, that's not how it actually sounds in the room. And so the more you hear it and the more you feel it, the less like it's going to get out in the room, the less they hear it. So stay in this moment forever is nice. It's so much more in the room. It's not that the other one sounds bad. It's just that, it's not as efficient. It's not as powerful.
Right. Well, and we've even had a voice teacher tell us that is like it's almost like a spiritual metaphor with what, like, our voice needs to like be forward and leave our body.
Pour it out.
Also because we're giving it as a gift, right? And that's a really cool thing to think about. Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's not for us, it's not for us to keep. And I think that tying the pedagogy of voice in with like service and like giftings and what we're doing in worship it should all come together. Like, that's what we're doing. So I think it's really cool.
If God designed our bodies and our voices, these things are not different.
Right.
They're the same.
Absolutely.
What can I give you that you can't make better? All of my ashes
So this line too starts high, and that's really tough. We sang 1,000 hallelujahs, with 1,000 hallelujahs, and that is tough when you start on a high. You're trying not to hit it, but you're trying to sing through it. But you also want to be in tune. What is this one? What? And he does a really good job of doing exactly what I was saying earlier, where he's starting with air. What can I give you? Right? It's airflow before he's even making a sound.
Yeah.
And I think that's really how you start on that pitch and you stay in tune. Is you have it, you prepare for it, and you send that air. What can I give you? You know, it's so much easier to do that, and instead of what, you know, or you know, trying to hop up there last minute because you forgot it's coming up.
Right.
But
Give you that you can't make better. All of my ashes you've turned into gold. You are the giver, you are the treasure, a glory too great to hold. What I've heard is true of you. And how could I stand in your presence? What I've heard is true of you. Can I stay in this moment forever? If what I've heard is true of you, there's not enough words to describe you. If what I've heard is true of you, my Jesus, there's nobody like you. And I'm so in awe. I'm so in awe of you. Jesus, I'm so in awe. I'm so in awe of you. And Jesus, I'm so in awe. I'm so in awe of you. Jesus, I'm so in awe. I'm so in awe of you.
I don't want to stop.
I know.
I don't want to stop. But I you know, you guys watching this is
It's not what we want
not
for our
always
channel.
something we want. It's not something I think
not the point.
is helpful and valuable for people. But
I was going to say the same thing.
you can say it if you want to
No,
say
it's
it.
just that vowel.
Aw. There's so many different ways you can do aw. And I don't know if you've been on the channel for very long. We talk a lot about air and we talk a lot about vowels.
Yes, we do.
So we think that's kind of everything is air and vowel. So aw, you can say it like that. You can say aw. You can say it like that. You can say ah. You can say ah.
Don't say ah.
Yeah. So the one that I try to do, and this is how I kind of bring it out of people when I'm teaching, is I say the word sky. Sky, 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 versus like dog. Dog is so much further back, but sky is almost at the front of your teeth, you know, at your hard palate. You know, you have your soft palate back
Not
there,
your
hard
soft-
palate. So ah, sky.
Yeah.
I'm so in awe of you. Right? And we sing awe all the time, but it doesn't have to be so in awe, right?
Yeah.
So in awe of you.
Yeah.
I don't have to open my mouth any further than I do when I normally speak.
Yeah.
That's a big part of our philosophy is that singing should be as easy as speaking.
That's exactly
And when you really try to access that, you're literally, just breathing out. A lot of these absolutely amazing, not only worship leaders, but singers.
Yeah.
It feels like they just breathe out.
Yes.
And it feels like they just do it.
Yep.
And so it's because it's as easy as speaking.
And I feel like that's why we talk about this stuff, because it sounds really tedious for us to like break down the vowel.
Sure.
But I think it's actually quite the opposite. It's really simple.
Mm-hmm.
It's us speaking, but we're breaking habits
Yeah,
because
we make it complicated.
Yeah. Well, and we make it complicated, not me, like we make it complicated, but us as singers make it complicated for ourselves because we get this in our mind. Like now I'm singing, it should be like different and hard work, and I don't know if that's cultural or what, because
or choir, you get in choir and you gotta sing with tall vowels. Yeah,
it's all good intentions to teach us these things as we grow up as young singers, but I think that we find ourselves now trying to get back to really the nature of singing, which is it is just our voice, right, and speaking, and these guys singing right here sound like they're speaking on pitch. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
You know, singing that line over and over again. And also the logistics of worship music is lots of singing. It's lots of time spent singing. So we want to do that well. We want to treat our instruments well and voices well.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, we have to not get tired. We have to think about the technique.
Well, there's a lot of churches out there who just have one worship leader and they gotta sing. They're trying to sing 4 songs by themselves, and it's a lot. And so if you aren't thinking about, you know, how do I bring everything, but also do it again, or last the whole time, or you know, I'm fine by the first song, and the 4th song I'm dying.
Yeah.
Or you know, we were at a church where we were doing 3 services in a single day, and I felt very convicted to give my best at every single service.
Absolutely.
You know, so I think a lot of people struggle with this, and you know, we're not saying that you should not sing your best in order to save your voice. We think that you should learn how to sing in a way that's efficient, that is as easy as speaking, because you can talk that whole time and it's fine, right? Yeah, we just that's a big part of our philosophy that every service and every song deserves your best, and a lot of people are doing it by themselves.
Absolutely. So giving yourselves the foundation to be able to set yourself up for success in that way is, I think, very important.
Who is this Savior with a love like no other? The skies can't contain and the grave couldn't hold. 'Cause all of my worship has just scratched the surface, and I've got forever to go. If what I've heard is true of you, then there's not enough words to describe it. If what I've heard is true of you, my Jesus, there's nobody like you. And I'm so in awe. I'm so in awe of you. And Jesus, I'm so in awe. I'm so in awe of you. Hey, and I'm so in awe. And I'm so in awe of you. And Jesus, I'm so in awe. And I'm so in awe of you. Jesus, I'm so in awe. I'm so in awe of you. I'm so in awe. So in awe of you. Jesus, I'm so in awe. I'm so. And Jesus, we'll stay right here. We won't go away. We'll stay right here. Jesus, I'm so in awe. You're worthy to be praised. Oh, you are enough. You are enough. You don't have to do a thing, 'cause we're gonna stay right here. Oh,
one thing I feel like I need to talk about is the breaks in his voice. And this could also be like, just the moment. Could just be the moment where he's overwhelmed. But I hear it in like Lazarus. I hear it,
for sure.
I hear it in just how he sings, and something I'm always curious about is, I love it, and I'm sure other people love it, and and I bet you he loves.
You're talking about like the crackle, kind of like,
or like when the voice kind of goes out for a minute, and it's beautiful, right? But I always wonder, and Logan, if you're watching, or anybody from CAIN, we would love to talk to you about this.
Absolutely.
Just if that ever gives you any vocal health issues, if that ever, if your voice ever gets really tired, or if that happens often, right?
And I think so. This is such a sensitive subject, and the subject that we're going to talk about is vocal health, and we call it efficiency, and especially applicable to worship music. And it feels like there are. I'm just going to put it from our frame of thought. Our frame of thought is that, yes, you should offer your voice, whatever that may be, at that moment as worship to God. 100%. That isn't to say, don't do it until blank. No. But I do think that we believe we are constantly trying to pursue excellence and more and better and grow. And what does that look like for us? For us, we're singers and we're vocalists, and that's the gift and the skill that we want to offer God in worship. That is how we lead and serve our church. And how do we do that better? Because that's an ever-moving thing, right? So we're not even talking to Logan right now. We're talking to you. We're talking to you who lead your service on Sunday or Wednesday or Saturday or whenever it is, and maybe you get tired a lot. Maybe you find yourself, your voice is giving out a lot. Well, I think it's worth looking into. I think it's worth looking into because Chase found himself experiencing just that. He found himself losing his voice because of speaking, and it was affecting his singing. And if this is what we're giving, it's not to say that it's not good enough, right? It's not to say that we shouldn't do it or keep going. But I do think that if we want to serve and we want to serve well, we should constantly be striving to do better.
Yeah.
And the way we do that right now is we try to get better in our vocal technique.
Yeah. Well, it's like guitar players and keys players and drummers, and they practice, right? They practice. And that's not to say that worship leaders don't practice, but I feel like there's a difference between learning the song and practicing your technique and getting better at your technique. And so, part of me just feels convicted often about making sure that I'm bringing my best because, our God deserves nothing less.
And I also think that one of our biggest things is that you really can have all of it. You can have
100%.
Emotional, I shouldn't say emotional. You can have like authentic worship that is not thinking about technique. It can be authentic. But in order to be in the place where you're not thinking about technique, you have to have practiced.
It's just like not thinking about the words, not thinking about the chords, If you're doing all of that, you haven't really done your job during the week.
Right.
To make sure that everything you are leading up to Sunday so that you can focus on the Holy Spirit and you can focus on how the Holy Spirit is moving rather than okay, what's the G chord? What are the chords in the bridge? Like we do this stuff all the time, but it feels very sensitive with vocalists
singing.
Absolutely. And it feels like no, singing is different. And I don't believe singing is different. I believe that singing is our voices are another instrument that God has gifted us with.
Yeah.
It happens to be part of our body.
And vulnerable because of that.
Because of that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that we can't do better and we can't talk about it, and I'm not,
we're not saying he needs to do better.
He needs to do better. No. I want to get on his level.
Absolutely. But
I also wonder, and I've taught a lot of worship leaders and I've talked to a lot of worship leaders. And my first question is your voice hoarse at the end of the day?
Are you tired after you sing? Yeah.
Is your voice tired? How quickly does your voice get hoarse? Do you feel like you can do all 4 songs without any issues, or is like the third and fourth one really tough?
Absolutely.
These things are important, and it's if you're a person who leads worship and serves your church in that way, it's every week that you have to kind of worry about this and hope that your voice is going to be there.
Yeah.
And we don't believe it has to be that way.
No, and I think it can get worse if you ignore those signs, like the signs that your voice is tired and you just push through and all that stuff. That could get worse. And the worst thing to me would be if you lost your voice, right? The worst thing for me would be if I lost my voice. If that's how I'm supposed to be doing it, I think I should take care of it. And this is part of taking care of it. And it's also like, this isn't a shame conversation.
No.
This is literally like our experience as vocalists has morphed from classical, like purely technical side, performative side, and how do we bring some of those things that help those people do incredible things with their voice into worship, which it just makes sense to us. So I hope that you guys hear our heart in that, because it really isn't about making this a performance. It isn't about making it perfect. It's about striving to be better and to do well and to use our gift.
Ultimately, we think that having good vocal technique can serve your church and serve Jesus.
Oh, of course.
And it only contributes more. You know, it's not what it's about.
No.
But it is something that is a function.
Yeah.
Right. It's a function of all of these things. So hopefully we are not going too deep,
too crazy,
deep dive. But but yeah, we just want to inspire you that to do it. You know,
absolutely.
Because
you
try.
can.
Because you can. Absolutely, you can.
Yeah.
So let's keep going.
You don't have to do a thing, and Jesus will stay right here. You don't have to do a thing, and Jesus will stay right here. Oh, you don't have to do a thing, and Jesus will stay right here. Oh, 'cause I'm so in awe. I'm so in awe of you, Jesus. I'm so in awe. I'm so in awe of you. All of you, Jesus. I'm so in awe. I'm so in awe of you.
Wow.
That's awesome.
It was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Of course it was going to be, because we are already huge fans of CAIN.
Absolutely. I think that our favorite part of what we do is that we get to sing, and we get to sing for God, right? Like, that's, how cool is that? And so we love talking about this, and we love experiencing it, watching it, having conversations about it, teaching it, doing it ourselves.
Learning.
We love and learning about it, all of it. So if you guys love that as well, if you love singing, if you love worship, if you want to grow in those skills that you feel like you have, please stick around on our channel. We react to stuff like this all the time. We're having these conversations all the time. And if you're looking for ways to grow yourself, we have some exercises that we've created that we think are kind of the basic foundations that'll get you started.
Bread and butter.
Absolutely. So we've linked those in our store in the description box below. Check it out and, practice with us, warm up with us, and let's all grow together.
They're only $5. So why not? Give it a shot. Just because it is so good to have confidence in what you're bringing.
Absolutely.
And it's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys happen to be new, be sure to check out another video on our channel. Otherwise, we will see you guys next time.